Yes, Jamie.
I would say our biggest concern with cap and trade isn't the bill, it's Obama, because I mean, I know that's a euphemism, but when he goes to Copenhagen, he can enter into an executive agreement with other nations and agree to about anything, and just pretty much bypass the whole treaty process with the Senate. And there's a lot of concern that that's what he's going to do. Is that this week? Next week. Next week is that he'll enter into executive agreement, which, you know, there's nothing as a republic that we could do unless the next president comes in and rescinds the executive agreement.
But David, it's important to today, Webb sent him a letter saying, you can't do that.
Did he?
Jim Webb, schizo that he is. The Senate had to agree to something, or he had to do it through legislation, and he wanted to hear back. Just won't hear back.
But so you think maybe the Senate would keep him accountable? That would be awesome if they would.
Is that a rhetorical question?
But I mean, if Webb's willing to send that.
It's part of the advising
Does not
consent.
change. The states are still sovereign. I imagine if something like that happened, states are already standing up against the federal government.
Well, that goes back to my original question. Why do we have to constantly go after cap and trade, healthcare, this? Every time something comes up, we have to get all our friends together and go fight. Why can't
Because
we
there
get something
isn't a
else?
one-size-fits-all unless you know somebody who might have 5,000-page bill. That's what you're saying.
But I thought it's already in
You've
the
got to
Constitution.
nail every single issue.
They said the answer earlier, the way the federal government is treating our federal constitution is the way our state government is starting to treat our state constitution. They're doing the gamesmanship in the committee. The judiciary is bypassing it, ignoring parts of it. The way you get around all of this, and it doesn't happen overnight, is you get the bums out. You hold them to their oath of office, which is to support and defend the Constitution. You got to know that Constitution first before you can hold them to it.
And until then, you have
A lot of people do know.
I would just
No,
like
I
to
mean,
mention,
no, the person doesn't collect.
Right.
I'd just like to mention real quick regarding this subject, because the fact of the matter is this. If you remember House Bill 3202, which was setting up unelected taxing authorities down Southern Virginia and up north, 80 people out of 100 delegates voted for that bill. 80. Okay? You can check it. 80 out of 100. In the Senate, 29 out of 40 voted for that bill. Now, do you remember your history lesson about the Boston Tea Party? They talk about these tea parties now. Part of the reason we fought the Revolutionary War, wasn't it? Because of taxation without representation. Now, here we have delegates, that many, 80, 29 in the Senate. Then, of course, it went to the governor. Of course, what did he do? He signed it. Okay, had it not been for Bob Marshall and Pat McSweeney, which carried that all the way to the Supreme Court of Virginia, which the court, although it was mixed, you know, it was, I don't know, I think it might have even been lopsided Democrat, I'm not sure. Was it?
I was going to say,
I think it was. Yeah, but it was a 7-0. That's the point. Even though there were Democrats, of course, and Republicans, right? It was both. It was passed that it was unconstitutional in the Supreme Court, 7-0. But see, the point is, we're going to keep fighting these issues year after year unless we join together and take advantage of right now the enthusiasm we have, hold these people accountable to their oath of office, to uphold the Constitution, period. And if they don't, guess what? They're out of there. The problem is we haven't held them accountable. I want to ask you something. We talk about people voting, and they say they're 80% right. I want to ask you, women, men, okay, would your spouse support you in being 80% faithful? How about them being, just like you would expect from your spouse, 100% faithful to us, we the citizens, and to the Constitution? There is no reason why they can't do that, is there? And it's about time we, the people, hold them accountable. Okay?
It's legislation that if they make a law or try to pass a law, it's not unconstitutional, they don't have to wait to be
So
voted
you
out
all know,
by.
I would mention this. You can go on, if you go on and look up the website, AmericanPatriotsCommittee.org, on there, there's a federal statute that exists right now that if somebody violates their oath of office, you can bring a criminal charge against them. Okay? It hasn't been done. You go on the website and take a look, you'll see it there. In other words, there's a federal statute that makes it because they're undermining our constitutional republic, okay? When they take, yes, in fact, what I asked somebody to do, Mark Warner, up in a town hall meeting up here in Fredericksburg, he was asked by someone there, where do you get the authority to meddle in healthcare? What do you think Mark Warner answered? I mean, this is right out to the public.
He probably didn't know.
He said we don't have any authority. We just decided, right?
Right.
Over the years, we're going to do some of these things.
To help people.
Wait a minute here. I mean, so in a court of law, could you imagine if we, the people, would do a presentment? I don't know if you've heard about that. That's something else in the Constitution. But if they won't bring an action against him, if we, the people, formed a grand jury here in Virginia and brought a presentment to the court to hold him accountable to his oath of office, that he blatantly, I mean, right, it's recorded, there's a video, right? Out of his own words, in the newspaper, wouldn't that be pretty damning evidence, you think, out of his own mouth?
One would think.
You have before you right there, the 1st and 5th of the Constitution gives the citizens grand jury the right to do that.
That's correct.
And that is exactly what's going on with the American grand jury right now. And as of today, we're waiting to hear the news. Lieutenant Commander has filed treason charges on Obama, and it went before the real grand jury. It already been approved by the citizens grand jury.
Right.
But before the real grand jury in Tennessee, we're waiting on an answer.
Yes. So see, this is amazing. We just need to be tuned in, and as Frank said, we need to understand the Constitution ourselves. It doesn't mean that you have to memorize it word for word, but my goodness, we need to know the proper role of our constitutional republic. When they say it's a democracy, guess what? We should go like this. Because you know what the founding father Benjamin Rush said about a democracy? It's the devil's own government. And they're saying we live in a democracy. We don't. Thanks.
Also
You never forget, you always carry one, right?
we need to know the Constitution of Virginia
Here, here.
as well as the U.S. Constitution.
Here, here.
Yes. by
I
all
have
means.
some other hands up I want to get to everybody here. Gentleman in the back in the red shirt?
Yes, I want to ask everybody here, everybody here has called both senators and told them you're against the health bill. Have you all done that? All right, next thing. There's a guy named Doc Thompson. If you want to have a rally, a lobby day rally, tell him about it and he'll publicize it on 1040.
I did tell him about it, but I asked him to speak and he hasn't responded.
Well, I go down and sit in the studio.
Here's plan. There is another one back in the corner. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, my name is J.C. Cancelleri. I live in Doswell. I'm going to assume that most everybody here is a Hanover resident. That may not entirely be true. All right. Nevertheless, it's a local issue. For those people who are in Hanover, I just want to share an observation that pales in comparison to cap and trade and healthcare, and that is to not lose sight of what the Board of Supervisors are doing. And let me just give you an example that we need to be vigilant about that as well, because I went to attend a meeting last month in Hanover County because there was an ordinance being proposed, and I don't know how it wound up, that would have made it illegal to sing after 10 o'clock if you could be heard by more than 100 feet. So I don't know how that wound up, but in a big global perspective, let's also keep our local folks equally accountable.
Absolutely.
Yep.